Steve, the Cookout Coach, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, here's how you do all of that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. We had him on a handful of months ago for the first time. He is the co-owner of Browsey Acres, a supplier of full-blood Wagyu and cross Wagyu meats, also some free-range chicken as well. Travis Browne will rejoin the show. We're breaking format. It's rare that I get my hands on a professional athlete who was a top fighter in the MMA/UFC fight game for a number of years. So we're going to do a little bit of a look back on Travis, how he comes up as, at first, an elite basketball player, how he transitions into fighting, what that life is like, what the fame is like, what contracts are like, what fighting is like, and then a little bit of a love story. Travis, if you do a little digging on him, somebody that loves love, it seems. And we'll talk about how he landed his current wife, Ronda Rousey. And we'll also talk about his thoughts on Power Slap, the upcoming fight with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. And we'll also obviously get some Browsey Acre business updates as well as we work through those first two segments in the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour, where we will find the embedded correspondence, of course. And as an added bonus, sitting in with the embedded correspondents, Doug, John, and Rusty, you will find, per request, first Tuesday of the month, regular guest in the second hour, Sam the Cooking Guy is also in. How about that? So that's what you have to look forward to here this evening. A full hour of Travis Browne here in the first hour. The embedded correspondence in the second hour with a special guest appearance sitting in, Sam the Cooking Guy. So be prepared. Don't forget you can follow me socially on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, all at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show, twitter.com/BBQ Central Show, or over on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. And we have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this. If you were competing in KCBS right now, you would question the results as being accurate. And currently, 100% of you are saying yes, you would question the results as being accurate. Early voting. So we'll see how the rest of the show plays out. We'll ask our guest here this evening as well. Results from the poll question of last week. You want a real infrared burner grill in the backyard. 51% of you said yes, and 47% of you said no. I feel like the volume is not where it normally is. I'm looking at my meter here, and it's not bumping where I usually want it to bump, which means there's been a setting change somewhere. I think I have an idea, but I don't want to get into it at this point. So if it's a little light coming across the feed here this evening, just crank it up. I'll do a little post-production. We'll get it figured out here before next week. And we're going to start here tonight. And I'm sure there were a number of you hoping that I was going to weigh in on the Traeger/Louisville Slugger wood pellet collaboration that you saw all over social media during the past week. That's going to happen in the second hour. I have thoughts on that, and it's not a hot take bit. I've been digging on that story, and the more I dug, weirder it got, so stay tuned for that again in the second hour. The topic that earns the show open here this evening is some follow-up reporting on that Smoke on the Shores contest that KCBS sanctioned a week ago that ran into some scoring issues to the point where they had to cancel awards and hold them last Monday night via a live stream. What do we love about technology and social media? We love the quickness at which you can get information. In many cases, as it's happening, real-time feed of events. However, you have to be careful because sometimes, even if you're at the event giving your account, you don't have all the information. Do I love breaking a good story or getting a scoop to talk about on the show? Yes, of course. But I've never been in a race to be first because once you get into that nonsense, you are often put in a spot of foregoing real reporting and ethics in order to say you're first. And you have no real way to confirm what you are first at and making sure that it's accurate to boot. So I'm always happy to wait to have the full info before bringing it to you and giving you my opinion. There have been times when I have had great and reliable info from trusted sources and I have brought a story to you or given you my opinion on something, and then a week or so later, some new information is released. That information is credible. I might have to amend my original thought. I have no problem doing that. All that to say, in regards to the Smoke on the Shores event, was there an issue at the contest that caused awards to be canceled that night? Yes. Was it an issue with the scoring system itself, as in a vacuum? The answer is no. Initially, when I was told about this, I was told that it was the same thing that happened at the Atlanta barbecue contest, where pro teams and backyard teams got mixed up in the results. That actually happened at Smoke on the Shores last weekend, but the difference was this, and this is the new information that I was given later last week after the show. After the Atlanta contest, there was a new operating procedure handed down to reps in charge of scoring at the event to follow in order to eliminate, let's call it, cross-contamination of the backyard teams and the pro teams. In this instance, at Smoke on the Shores, the reps in charge of scoring did not follow the procedure set forth by KCBS in order to mitigate the issue from happening. So what you had is teams getting mixed together and awards being canceled. Again, also, you may have seen the third public apology that KCBS issued since the American Royal. There was plenty of reaction to it. Most of what I read was asking for clear info on what exactly happened this time at Smoke on the Shore. There was also a lot of the scoring system is still broke and a number of other thoughts. Here's what I know. Since the Royal, there have been more scoring issues that I have heard about in a 6-month time span than I have ever heard about in the last 15 years of doing this show. That's what I know for sure. I'm not going to say that this is something that must have been going on for decades, because I haven't heard anyone complaining about being jobbed out of results. Yes, cooks complain all the time about how bad the judging is, but no cook over the past 15 years of this show has ever come to me publicly or privately to say they think scoring at a contest was fucked. Never. Here's what we also know. The system KCBS uses for result tabulation, known as SCORE, has known glitches in it. That's a fact. We also know that there was a new procedure put in place to mitigate teams getting mixed together when they shouldn't be getting mixed together. If you're a competitor or member of KCBS, but more competitor, I'm asking you this question. What's worse? Having a scoring system that has known glitches within it and is still being used today, or having a fix in place for those known glitches, which will mitigate those glitches, and the reps, for whatever reason, are not implementing the fix? Which one is worse? To me, the latter is worse. I'll be looking for your reaction on that. Travis Browne is in the green room. He's ready to go here. Before we get to him, let's talk about Schwank Grills. You can take a look at it here while I'm talking to you this evening. What do we know about Schwank Grills? It gets up to 1,500 degrees using infrared burner technology. More on that here in a second. What does that mean to you? Now you can grill the juiciest steaks you've ever tasted in as little as 3 minutes or 4 minutes, depending on thickness. No more time wasting your life cooking the proteins you want. Schwank Grills does it quickly and with great results. The infrared burner technology is the same technology used in the world's best steakhouses, including Morton's Steakhouse, Del Frisco's, Cut 432. This isn't they also use infrared burners. They use the Schwank Grill burners in those places. It's the real deal. Remember, at 1,500 degrees, you can build that delicious crust on both sides of the steak without overcooking it. It's incredibly juicy and flavorful. It's not only a steak cooker, no sir. You can handle the most robust meats, but it also does equally well with delicate fish fillets like salmon. You can do lobster tails in 5 minutes, chicken breasts in 3 or 4 minutes, shrimps, burgers, all kinds of stuff. And you have a number of adjustable heights so you can really manage the heat and how intense it hits the food. This is the new addition that many of you have already taken advantage of over the last 3 weeks. Don't be left out in the cold. Save money. How do you do that? Right now, if you go to the website, schwankgrills.com, schwankgrills.com, and you use promo code BBQ Central, all one word, at checkout, you can save $150 off any Schwank grill. Comes in 2 gas availabilities, liquid propane and natural gas, depending on your preference. But you pick which one you want when you go to schwankgrills.com, and then as you check out, get the free money. $150 off. Who doesn't need $150 off of something? You do. And you can do it with the code BBQ Central. Very easy. When you get it, if I might add, as you're seeing here on the video, at the very bottom, there's a drip tray for the juices. Don't sleep on the benefits of that. You can create a drip tray sauce. Throw some butter, some herbs, some spices down there. And then whatever it is you're cooking is ready to be done. Pull it off and then drop it right there in the drip tray. It's like a board sauce, but it's in the cooker. schwankgrills.com. Promo code BBQ Central saves you $150 off. We are back with Travis Browne right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by our good friends over at cookandpellets.com. Over 10 years of sponsoring this show, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookandpellets.com, see what they have to purchase, and then when you're ready, head on over to Amazon.com or Lowe's.com or Walmart.com and purchase from there. Same great products, the best shipping rates around, if you can believe it. Direct from Chris Becker himself. Good folks over at cookandpellets.com. My guest in the first hour this evening made his debut back in February. We talked about his company, Browsey Acres, and what they are bringing to the market for purchase and what their goals and visions are for raising and purveying what they feel is some of the best beef and chicken that's currently available on the market. However, before all of that, we alluded briefly back in February, Travis has had a past life as an elite high school athlete, college athlete, professional athlete. So I wanted to have him back on so we can break format to a degree and learn about how someone goes from world-class athlete to co-owner of a Wagyu beef ranch. So we are excited to welcome back our friend Travis Browne to the show. Travis, appreciate you joining me here on the show once again. We have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody watching through YouTube, and of course, all guests like we did last time. And this time around, we're not asking about raw chicken. We are asking if you were competing in the Kansas City Barbecue Society right now, you would question the results as being accurate, yes or no?
I'm not caught up on what's going on over there. Is there some kind of injustice going on, or
there could be? There could be. Let's abstain from voting.
Yeah,
let's do that. All right.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Yeah, I need to get caught up on the barbecue news.
Do you think you see? I don't want to jump right into the business talk here, but do you get calls from competition cooks or folks in the competition arena that are looking to source Browsey Acre meats for their events?
Yeah, we've gotten a few actually. And for one reason or another, it just didn't come to fruition, but we're totally open to it. I mean, I think the taste of our beef would kill it in something like that.
Hawaiian father, European mother, quite the mashup of culture. What are the best parts you took from both?
Oh, that's a great one.
You didn't know we were going to be doing the deep dive,
no,
right?
No, I didn't. We're getting deep over here. From my mom, I would say that I got the ability to really work hard. And continue moving forward through any adversity. She's an incredibly strong woman, and I don't think I gave her enough credit when I was younger, And from my dad, I got my ugly looks and my great personality.
Shout out to Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Do you identify more on the Hawaiian side or more on the European side?
Man, I'm Hawaiian, right? And it's something where that's where I'm from. That's where I was born. I lived there not very long when I was a kid, but it's something that has always felt like home to me. I get that culture. It's where I want to be. It's like in my heart, in my blood. I find that with my mom's side of the family, there isn't that strong root of that strong culture, like that American side. It's like what is that culture, right? And I think that the Hawaiian culture has definitely been strong in my life. And so I would say that I'm more towards the Hawaiian side. Even my mom, you know, she wants to move back there when we move back there. She absolutely loves it there, and she loves the people there and the way of life there. I think is really what's attractive.
You see yourself moving back there at some point then down the road?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you have a definitive time frame on that?
You know, my older boys, they graduate in about 2.5 years. My youngest son graduates in about 2.5 years. So, you know, if the ranch in Oregon doesn't need me, we're going to go start the ranch in Hawaii.
Oh.
So, and that's something that through this whole process has gotten close to my heart, is to start the ranch in Hawaii and to feed the locals some of the healthiest food that they can get, because, you know, it's not really in our diet. And I'm talking about Hawaiians to eat red meat, right? Like if you think back in the day ancestrally, or, you know, however far back you want to look, it was primarily fish, maybe some bird, poultry, but the red meat thing, it's not in the islands. They don't get it. It was brought in. It's invasive. So if we can get the healthiest kind of meat there possible, and to feed the Hawaiian people, that's something that I am very motivated to do.
Do you recall having a good food family? In other words, was there a lot of home cooking that you drew inspiration from, or was it kind of a fend for yourself situation?
Yeah, combination of both. I remember having families over. So when I was growing up, when I was living with my dad, we actually lived with like 2 other families in this house, and I grew up very poor. We had the living room floor and the couch. That was our room. And so I remember at dinner time, it'd be such an amazing experience, because you'd have all these families, we'd all be cooking, getting along and all that kind of stuff, having a great time. And then when it came down to eat, it's like, you better get yours. You know what I mean? Because you will have older cousins, older uncles, whatever, coming and snatching food off your plate. So there were times that, you know, maybe I didn't get as much as I should have. And that's when my dad would actually step in. He'd wake me up, you know, 11:30, 12 at night. We'd take a walk down the local, like, Taco Bell or something. That's one of my earliest memories with my dad, is like, he'd wake me up, you know, we'd go and we'd walk to Taco Bell, I'd get some 99-cent tacos and fill my belly, and then we'd walk back. And those were some special times for me. But having the food in that story and that atmosphere was always so much fun. It was like a big party every night, you know.
What's the philosophy in your house now as you parent? You know, you have the older boys, you got the younger girl as well. What's your philosophy with food in the house now?
It's here and it's abundant. And I absolutely love to cook for my family. And my dad was actually a cook for our family when I was living with him. And he was a great cook. And that's something that, you know, when Rhonda first came into my life, I made like wild game tacos almost every night, or burgers or something like that, right? Like super bachelor style cooking. But over the last, you know, 9 years, it's really turned into, like, now it's funny. I saw a meme the other day where it said, like, yeah, when dad says he's going to cook dinner, it's he's going to cook the meat, and then you guys got to figure out the sides. Like, that's all it is. You know what I mean? Like, when my husband's going to cook that's kind of how it's gone. But I've also started working on sides, started working on my Brussels sprouts, and my wife actually makes great green beans. Salad. I love salad, like a good spinach and kale salad that we grow out of our garden. My wife grows that, and it's one of my favorite meals. Just steak, rice, and a salad. Can't go wrong with it. But I like to that's like one of my ways of showing my love to my family is cooking for them. And just watching them eat it, especially like my little girl, like when my boys were younger, that was so much fun to watch them take a bite of whatever I was cooking and then just be like, Dad, this is good. And now with my youngest daughter, watching her just pound steak, it's like, yes, like freaking A, she loves that. You know what I mean? Like and she's like coming over to my plate and taking, strips of steak off my plate and smashing it. And it's like, dude, that it's so much love there,
I'm drawing conclusions here, but I'm assuming your parents were divorced at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. They were separated when I was pretty young.
Depending on who you're living with, like what's the temperature of the house when you're living with your dad? What are the expectations and the rules? And then how does that compare and contrast when you live with your mom?
Both homes were extremely loving. Like, and and if you're around me, you'll see that with my kids now. Even my older boys, 16, 17 years old, give me a kiss, buddy. Like, love you, kiss you, goodbye, kiss you, hug you. When we're sitting there watching TV, I have my boys under my arm. We're just hanging out watching TV, and like we're walking down. We're just in Vegas. They were just doing like a football camp for it's called the Polynesian National Combine. And so they went there, and we're walking down the street, and I got both of them under my arm, just hanging out with them. You know what I mean? Like those are my boys. And with my little girl, it's like, sometimes she's like, Dad, and she like pushes me away because I'm just always like, like kissing her neck or her face or her hands, or I'm always trying to like hold her hand and stuff. And yeah, so I'm like, I'm very loving, and that's how my dad was with me. That was one thing that he showed me, is how to love your kid, that way, how to be there for them. And in my mom's house, it wasn't, it was there, but it wasn't as much as my dad's house. But my mom would show me other ways that she loved me. She would, she would cook, and my dad was a great cook, and that's the way he would show his love. But the way my mom would show her love is by cooking for me and taking care of me, and being there for me and stuff like that. I would say that my dad's house was very strict, though. Right? Like, I remember one time I was with my stepbrother and stepsister, and we're being kids, we're drawing on our hand with like whiteout, drawing tattoos on our arms with like whiteout or something. My dad comes in, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "Oh, like busted," He's like, "Hey, clean that off and don't do that again." Right? And that's all he had to say. And we're like, "Okay, Dad." And so we're wiping it off, cleaning it off, all that stuff. Like 10 minutes goes by, and we're like, we weren't done yet. So we start doing it again. My dad walks in. He goes, "Sounds good." Bend over the bed and grabs his belt, whapa, whapa. And then afterwards, we're all like crying, and we're counting the holes from his belt, like on our butts, seeing who got more, but that was like, he said it once and then he followed up, but so you always knew what you were going to get. And there was like, when my mom is like, she was a little bit more of a, she's, I don't want to say pushover, because I got smacked by my mom too, but she was kind of, you could work your way a little bit better. My dad was like, my words, final say. Don't make me repeat myself.
When did you know you're good at sports?
I've always been good at sports.
Yeah.
That was, I think, like through, like it's weird because I'm 41 now, and you look back when you're a kid, and and I'm always trying to do better than like, I want my kids to have a better life than I did growing up, right? And I think sports and being physical and athletic, like I played all the sports. I did soccer, baseball, I did football, basketball, tried wrestling when I was like a freshman. I did, I did a whole array, and I just landed on basketball. But that was like my, I guess, like escape, I guess you could call it, from whatever was going on around me. Because, growing up and having parents that split when you're young and stuff like that, I don't think you realize what that does and the stress that it may put on the kids, unknowingly, right? Whether it was right or wrong. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I think, that like at times that's the better path to take than for somebody to stay together and for that relationship just to be so tumultuous and argumentative and stressful, and that would hurt the family even more than if they were to go opposite ways and live separately, right? But co-parent kind of a thing. But I think that was how I expressed myself. Like, and I know now, like now I know that I grew up with ADHD because that's just how I am. And sports to me was like, I would hyper focus on sports and I would get good at that sport. Whatever I tried, did it until my feet were bleeding, till whatever it took. That's what I want to do, because I had that drive in me. School was the complete opposite. Like intellectually, like I'm smart. I'm smart. I can, I can't. It's so hard for me to read a book and to stay entertained and to focus on that unless it's on a subject that I really care about.
Yeah.
Like if it's just like a fantasy book or something, I'm like, dude, get to the first page, I'm like, this is horse shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, I can't read that, And so like when they're asking us to read in school, I was totally zoning out. Like, wonder what's for lunch today. You know what I mean? Just like gone. Thinking about basketball or thinking about whatever sport I was playing at the time, most likely, how I could be better at that. And that's how I'd hyper focus. But that's been my thing, is being an athlete.
So you knew you were excelling at basketball. Was AAU a thing back then? Like, were you involved with that, or you were just good and got recruited because you were a great high school athlete?
Yeah, I was. I didn't know what AAU was. I grew up in my father passed away when I was 10, so I primarily grew up in a single mother home environment, right? And my mom, she was an athlete in her own right. She was like a track athlete, like top in her high school and all that kind of stuff. But I was her only boy, you know what I mean? So for her, she like what my boys have now, and the coaching or the availability that I've given them, the opened up those doors. That was a big reason why I fought, was because I wanted to give my kids the opportunities that I didn't have. And so through fighting, I could try to make connections, whether it's strength conditioning or skill or something, but I could reach out. Like the doors are way more open for me, I would say, than a lot of people that I know, because of what I chose to do for a living. And I have kind of that public image that I'm a public figure, I guess, in some sense, and so it's easier for me to get in front of people.
You mentioned your dad had passed away when you were 10 years old. Was it an accident or just natural cause?
Yeah. So, my dad, this is like one of those things where, how do I put it? Because when I was younger, he was like my hero. And up until I would say I had my kids, he was like my hero. Right. And I loved him, and I know that he loved me. But then as I grew older and I had my own kids, I knew that he loved alcohol more. And so what he died from was actually acute alcoholism. So what happened is my grandmother passed away, and my grandmother passed away. he hadn't heard from her for a few weeks because she died in her house, and she lived on a macadamia nut farm, in South Point, Kona, Hawaii, the Big Island. And so, he went over there, he flew over there, found her in her house, and actually the dogs, after 3 weeks of not having anything, they kind of start doing their thing.
Yep,
So
yep.
he found her like that, right?
Oh.
And so that like broke my dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it broke my dad. And my uncle was telling me that he, leading up to when my father died, he had never seen him drink that much in his life. And my grandmother died, I believe, in March or April. And then my father died about 10 days after my birthday in July. And so, in that same year, right? So this all happened within that amount of time. So it just like, and that's what it says. Even on his on his death certificate is, it's from acute alcoholism that led to pneumonia that led to a heart attack is what it led. So there was complications from the acute from the alcoholism, and then a heart attack. So, again, it's that tough way to answer because I know that he loved me, but then I have my boys, and it's like, I was chewing for a while. I stopped doing that because I don't want something so stupid to take me away from my family. I used to drink a little bit more. I hardly ever now, maybe a special occasion. I think we talked about it, and I got my blood work done, last year. That way I can make sure that, I'm a little bit older. I'm 41. I wouldn't say that I'm old, but I'm not 30 anymore. So it's like, I want to make sure that I'm here for my family. So and that's because I love them and I want to be there for them. I don't want them to miss out on the time with me like I missed out on my dad because of my personal decisions.
As a 10-year-old, I mean, are you able to get your head around everything that's happening, or do you work through that down the road and get right with that, or have you ever?
Yeah, I think, as a 10-year-old, you're just heartbroken. Like you don't get to see your dad anymore. And it was tough.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, growing up, I think I just like put it off a lot. But I think having my kids helped me deal with that, and make sure that, make sure that I'm around. And then, of course, I had a stepdad that he was a good guy, but I learned to keep him at an arm's distance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give you that, like he made it very apparent that he has his family who my mom loved. Him and my mom separated, while I was young too. And so it's like, growing up with that, it's, it's kind of whatever. But as I got older, I stayed in touch with them. And, even through high school, we would still split time because he had a little sister that he had with my mom.
Yep.
Right. So I was like, we're still working that. And I would go over there part time because they were doing co-parenting with my sister. So that whole thing, super close with him then. And then as we got older, there were just some things that happened that made it very apparent that, I wasn't a part of his family, and so I learned to just keep him at that arm's distance. And I think, and he actually passed away a few years ago. So yeah, it's just, what do you do?
according to my research, you get into the fight game around 26 years of age. And I'm not like glossing over the fact that you were an incredible, Hawaii State basketball star in high school and, go to college. Do you play in college for a year or 2 years?
I played a year.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, I really started to excel after my freshman year of college basketball because it took me a little bit to catch up to that speed. And then we went and played summer ball, and all of a sudden I had a bunch of like D1 schools looking at me because of the summer tournaments and summer games that we were playing in after my first year of college. And it's just like a flip switch. So in high school I was okay, but that was also, I wouldn't say I would be like one of the best in the state or stuff like that. I was really good in my division and in my area, I got really good in college.
So as I mentioned, you get into the fight game at 26. So typically when we talk about professional sports, you would associate that with the quote unquote young man's game. So as you're starting to make your way into fighting, are you also mentally allotting for a defined period of time in your MMA career as well?
What do you mean by that?
So you're not starting you're not starting at 20. You're not starting at 19. You're
I have a short shelf life. Yeah. No. I'm hitting it as hard as I can while I can. And I'm trying to improve and try to get that belt. I think when you start getting a little more self-aware, I think you're starting to check out of the game a little bit. And self-aware is like, hey, I only have, 6 years or 7 years and I better make the most of it. It's like, I'm thinking to myself, you son of a bitch, I'm going to fight till the day I die. Right. Like, I'm going to be, you know what I mean? Like there's no holding me back. And there's, once you start thinking of the end, I believe that the end is near. So at that time, I in my mind, I wasn't late to the game. I mean, nobody starts fighting at 26, 27 years old, right? Like, no, like you don't start. That was me starting to train at 26. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't been training. I started training like this all happened within a very short amount of time.
I was figuring you stopped playing basketball, you started rolling around in between when you stopped in 26.
Absolutely
and now you're
not.
like spooled up at 26 and ready to start fighting, some of the lower ranks there. But wow, you're starting at 26. And that's commonplace?
That's what?
Is that commonplace? Most fighters are starting around 26 or no?
Oh no.
Yeah.
They're like high school wrestlers or did boxing or kickboxing. Even when I was doing, or they had been doing jiu-jitsu a lot of their life,
Wow.
I was very late to the game. Like people don't do that. I was a basketball player until I was like 19. And then from 19 until 26, I was working jobs. I had to earn money.
Wow.
I'd settled down and started a family and I was, my biggest regret was not being an athlete because I knew I could do it. Like I've always known that's something I wanted to do. At a certain time when I was maybe 23, 24, I was like, dude, should I go and like do a NFL tryout kind of a thing, like go play tight end or something. You know what I mean? Like
that would never cross my mind. Like, is it because like you have some gifts that people don't have? You're 6'7". I mean, granted, you work on the skill set. You have some frame builds that most of us don't have.
Natural.
So, yeah, at 25, I never thought maybe I can go down to Browne Stadium for a walk-on. I mean, I get my ass kicked. So yeah, I just can't. I can't even get on that same level as you. That's insane. I love it.
Yeah, Yeah. So I was seriously like contemplating that. Like, man, should I? Because I got a lot left.
Wow.
Like I left a lot on the table when I decided to quit school and go, um, just work and settle down and start a family and all that kind of stuff. Um, so at 26 or 25 and a half, 26, whatever, I started training jujitsu, and it led just natural. That's like the gateway martial arts, into MMA. And so it just led into it led into MMA. Had a couple like Muay Thai smoker fights within that year and a half. And then had my first fight, first pro fight was in TJ, Tijuana.
Yep.
So, and then I fought 9 times in that year. And then in 2010, I was signed to the UFC. Um, so I was only pro for, I think, for about a year before I knew I was going to sign with the UFC. And then I had my debut in June of 2009, I believe. Yeah.
When you sign with UFC, obviously the biggest MMA venue going, perhaps arguably, but I think it's probably is. Do you remember? Obviously, you remember that time. But from a high level, what does the contract look like from a fight commitment standpoint and a dollar figure standpoint? And I ask this question only because I think from the layperson like me, non-athlete, except below average to average in high school, people automatically think contract, pro sports. I'm rich. So what does that actually look like?
People are going to laugh. So, and I mean, living's a little different now. Cost of living and everything is higher,
Yep.
obviously, now than it was then. But, man, I started out at 6-6, and if I won, it was going to go to 8-8 and then 10-10. And it was a 3-fight contract. So it'd go up by $2,000 a fight. And when I say 6-6, 8-8, 10-10, that's 6 to show. So you're guaranteed 6 if you show up. And if you win, $6,000.
Okay.
$6,000. And if you win, then you get the other $6,000. And that was over, I think it was like a 3-year deal. So 3 fights over 3 years. So if you think about that, you know what I mean? Like if you start winning, they're going to start booking you quickly, right? And that's what happened with me. I fought in June, and then I think I fought again either in August or September or something like that. So it was like a quick turnaround for me.
What's the usual turn in a fight? Like, I mean, it seems weird. Like this, to me,
times.
I'm always equating stuff to sales because that's what I do. So
yeah,
you're going to make more money by making more fights. So if you can fight 6 times in a year or 7 times in a year or 8 times in a year, that's $50,000 to show. And you could make the other 50 on the other end if you win all those fights. I'm no mathematician, but that's like $100,000. But you're not selling, you're fighting, which seems very dangerous to me.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're not fighting 9 times in a year.
No. But,
like for the UFC.
Yeah.
For the UFC, right?
You can
for
fight
the
outside
you won't
UFC?
do that. Not when you're under UFC contract.
Yeah.
So like for instance, my first year that I fought in the smaller shows, you can bounce around in the smaller shows. So those smaller shows, I fought 9 of them in a year. And from I think it was like February to March, I fought 9 times in that year. And I stayed busy because that was one way to make money, but then also another way to, get your record up there. Mm-hmm. So, but when you're fighting for the UFC, I would say a normal time is 2, maybe 3 times a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how are you making money outside of that? Even if you win everything, you still got to have another job.
Yeah, I was still running my dog training business.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Serious injuries during your fight life?
I've had 3 4. I've had 3 during the fight, 4, and then 1 outside of fighting, which both of them were, or 2 of them were torn hamstrings, like muscle belly tears, not a full detachment, but which still is no fun. And then the other 2, one broke my hand, and then I had a compound dislocation of my index finger, this one here.
Wow.
So yeah, so a guy went to throw a punch, and I like went to kind of slip and block with this hand, and he came down right on top, and you can actually see it during the fight. My bones sticking out like through this, like sticking out that way, and this part of my fingers like set back here, and it happened in the first round, and I just fought the rest of the fight with it. So
wow, you're like Ronnie Lott,
tried to
except
put
you
it
didn't
back
cut your
in.
own finger off.
Yeah, no, I'm not that impressive.
I would rather keep the finger. So good job for you. But, wow,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
continuing the fight
for
with
sure.
a broken finger. Jeez. When do you decide enough is enough?
That is such a hard question to answer because
It
lot of
appears
people don't
leading
realize.
into this, you aren't built like that. You're not enough is enough guy.
no, and so I think like I'm still under contract, and a lot of people don't know that. So if I call up the UFC, if we could work something out and I go back to fight for them, great. If not, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I think I'm grasping at straws here, but I would, as soon as the ranch starts getting up and going, that's like one of my goals is to, like, when the ranch is up and going and it doesn't need me as much, I would love to go back for another few fights.
Really?
100%.
Just to see? Or you got the smoke?
Yeah, just because I can. Like, because I can, and I'm still here, and I still got something left to offer, Yeah, I mean, I can walk into almost any gym and compete at the highest level.
When are you not under contract anymore?
Whenever I want to be, or if they like.
So you have like
take
a
my contract away.
non-expirable contract with UFC right now? You just call in and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about coming back. Can we put something together?"
Yeah, because at the time, I think I was under an 8-fight contract, and I still had 3 fights left, and I didn't officially retire, so that contract never went void. So yeah, so that's how.
Is there better money than 10 grand on either side?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
There is now. I had to earn that though. I had to earn that.
Yeah.
3 years of.
Yeah. There's a difference between hard
fighting.
work and hard fights, right?
Yeah.
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 Let's break off of sports for a second. True or
Sure.
false? Travis Browne is more of a lover than a fighter.
That's true.
So
Yep.
married
That's
3
true.
times. And of course, we all know third time is a charm, especially with the one you got now. But was there ever a time during those first 2 times that didn't work where you thought, at least to yourself, no more marriage? Definitely love to have some women around, whatnot. But as far as marriage, maybe, I've learned to fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah. So after my second marriage, I was done. I was like, I'm gonna be the biggest piece of shit out there, and I'm just gonna enjoy
A dog's
myself
dog.
fully. Yep, 100%. I was so done, and I was ready to just unleash. Just unleash. It would have been. It would have. I would have been such a horrible example for my boys. And I'm so glad I didn't. And I'm so glad that I found, the woman of my life and the love of my life. And yeah,
So I'm a sucker for a love
she
story.
saved
So,
me. She seriously saved me.
regale me with the story of how you pull one of the most famous and prolific women in MMA history. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, remember we were talking about what I got from each parent, and from my dad it was that personality. Man, my dad would, like, the party wouldn't start until my dad got there. That was what he was known for. Like, just larger than life personality, just, when he's in his element, he just owned it, man. And it just so happened that, like, Rhonda and I would bond over a few things that summer, and she got to see the real me, and
Do you meet her because you're just like MMA fighters just running the same circles? Like I can't even figure out how you even get around her.
yeah. So what actually happened is, as I moved to her camp, so to her gym where she was training, I ended up going there. One of the things that I've always kind of struggled with was my footwork in fighting, was the timing and footwork. And so I went from Alliance, which was an amazing team there, and I go to Jackson's, Jackson Winklejohn in Albuquerque, and I learned so much there, and I learned a lot from the fighters that were there. The mental aspect, Coach Jackson was great. Some of the technical aspect, Coach Wink was good, but a lot of it was the fighters that were there, like John Jones, and like Frank Mir was there for a while, and some like just amazing athletes. And then I needed to fix some things in my boxing, my hands, and so I was watching the UFC show, like I forget what it was called, but they would like follow some fighters and stuff before their fight. And I was watching Jake Ellenberger box with Edmund Tarverdian. I was like, man, he's looking super crisp and super sharp. So I wanted to go there and train. And so I'd talk to him, and I ended up moving my camp there. And I was there for over a year and a half before, like, we looked at each other that way. It was all like, she was with somebody, I was with somebody, right? So it wasn't like that. And you get murdered by the Armenians there looking at Rhonda the wrong way. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So it was like, it just never even crossed my mind, honestly. And it just, like, kind of, situations happened, and all of a sudden it was like, wait, why are you talking to me? You know what I mean? It's like, what? It was I was like, I am now scratching my head, trying to figure it out. And we just hit it off. And we, like I said, we bonded over some things, and that happened, when we're young, when we just started talking, and it just, man, it was the easiest relationship, the easiest, like, beginning of a relationship, where it just felt so natural, where at that time it felt like we'd been together for 10 years, but we had just started talking. And like, now we're like freaking out that it's coming up on 9 years later this summer. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, how's it already been 9 years? Like, what? This is
why it works,
this
though,
for
right?
both of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's amazing.
I wonder, because there's some people in the chat room that are like, who are you talking about? It's Ronda Rousey, in case you didn't know who she was. Do you just flatly admire what she's been able to accomplish in her career, or is there ultimately some type of, I don't want to say jealousy, or could you be jealous of her at the same time? Like, man, she did all this great stuff and she's super famous, blah, blah, blah. And why didn't it happen to me? Or is there nothing like that for you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It is pure admiration for what that woman's been able to do. like just get out of her way and let her do her thing. And I think a lot of people that have a successful relationship know that it's about supporting your spouse and being there for them. If you're jealous over your spouse, there's bigger problems. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy for her. We celebrate the good times. We cry together in the bad. And I help pick her up when it's a bad time. And you know what I mean? And we're there for each other in every given situation, whether it's a high or a low. And I've never had that before in the way that I needed it, the way that we are together, it's like we just started dating. You know what I mean? She comes and sits on my lap and puts a big kiss on me, and we're holding each other, and there's like other people standing around and making everybody uncomfortable, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. This is my woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is who we are. This is like, we have zero apologies for who we are as a couple, and we don't care.
If your boys come to you in a few years, or your youngest daughter develops an interest in fighting down the road, have you and Rhonda ever sat down and talked about how you would approach giving your experiences in the industry to your family that's interested in trying to make their way in that?
Yeah, we'd absolutely love to support them in it. And we would be able to open those doors that they would have maybe a longer road to get to. But at the same time, like I said earlier, like how my dad was very strict, or he was very straightforward to tell you how it is, and my mom too, but she kind of candy coated a little bit, sugarcoated a little bit. Rhonda and I are going to be very honest, right? Like, even with my boys now in their sports, they're both playing football. I have them set up with training, with diets, with all this kind of stuff. And to me, it's like, there's no excuses, right? Like, I know where you're at. Like, let's be honest. Let's be honest with each other, because that's the best thing that you can do as an athlete, is be honest with yourself. And especially in a sport where you're about to get punched in the face in front of millions of people. Do you see what I mean? Like, that's the time to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, especially then.
Hey, did I do all my training? Did I do all my sprints? Is my cardio up to par? Where am I lacking? Where am I strong? What do I really need to work on? Like, is my wrestling a thing? Is my jujitsu a thing? Is my striking a thing? Is my timing and footwork a thing? Is my cardio a thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, is my mental game a thing? Right. And so, because that mental game will tank your cardio, it'll tank your skill and technique if that mental game isn't there. So we would be very forward and honest, but that's also where, if that kid put in the time and was at the level that they needed to be at, we would absolutely open those doors.
Got a couple minutes
and
left.
We would love to get them there.
Yeah, I mean, that's
love to be a part of the training and get them there, and that would be so much fun.
I could see it. I could see you answering it quickly the other way as well. Rhonda and myself have been bashed in the face a billion times. We've won, we've lost in front of all these people. It's the height of exhilaration. It's also very humbling, and we don't want you to go through that. Find another passion, or because we've done it, we've lived it, and we're trying to give you a life where you don't have to do that. But it doesn't surprise me that if that's what they wanted to do, you're not here to break what they think their passion is, and then also open some doors to support them. I mean, who better to train than with a guy that's done it, and with the woman who's transcended sport? I mean, it's perfect. Yeah.
And that's the thing is that if they were to do this, it would be a passion of theirs, because I don't want to see my kid get punched in the face. dude, it'd be heartbreaking if they lost or got knocked out or finished or something like oh my gosh, it would break my heart. But if this is what they want to do, who am I to get in their way and tell them no? And I will be there as your father to support you in anything that you do. And I will, and that's why I'm gonna be extra hard on you, because you better put in the time so that you're on the winning side of those fights.
Would you
know what
fight your kid?
So, fight as you mean spar?
Like get in and fight for real? Like
No,
if they're like, Dad,
fight.
let's go, let's do this thing. We're not going to do that.
Let's like spar.
Yeah,
I would spar my kid.
Yeah,
I would absolutely spar my kid. Yeah, absolutely spar, and I would beat the crap out of his legs and his gut. 100%, dude. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Couple minutes left here, and I want to get your take on two things. You don't have to go in depth. What's your take on power slap? Love it or hate it?
Indifferent. I don't really care about it. I think that everybody has a decision. I think it's.
Would you do it?
I wouldn't do it. No.
Because it's a free shot?
No. I think it's just kind of ridiculous. It's like who can't get knocked out first? It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of,
I don't know.
What?
I saw it show up on an Instagram feed a couple of years ago, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And now, like I'm seeing it, now it's a thing, right? Like Dana White's involved in it, putting this thing together.
Dude, good for them.
Okay. Jake Paul or Mike Tyson?
And here's the thing, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's the thing with Power Slap, real quick. With Power Slap, is that it's changing people's lives for the better. And that's why I would support it. For the athletes that may not have had a platform before, they're making money, they're doing things, getting sponsors, great for them, but I would not do that.
Yeah. Jake Paul or Mike Tyson, who's winning? Who's winning? Not who you want to win, because we all remember 22-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly. That's a tough one. Because youth is very powerful. Youth is very powerful, and
he's a big dude.
I think, and he's not small, and he's not, and he is athletic, and he does hit hard and all that. I with all that said, I still gotta go with Mike. I think he's gonna one thing I've learned about boxing is that there's so much skill in that sport, and there's so much understanding that you can't learn as quick as Jake Paul has. Look at all like the heavy, like Tyson Fury. Look at Anthony Joshua. All those guys. Like I when I was at Glendale, I boxed against a couple of pro boxers, and they whooped my ass in boxing. Whooped my ass in boxing. MMA would have been completely different.
Yeah.
Spacing's different and rhythm's different, but their angles and their footwork and everything that goes into that, oh my gosh, it's a different ball game. And Mike Tyson has probably forgotten more than Jake Paul knows now.
I think Mike Tyson's going to knock him out, and I don't think it's going to be a headshot. I think he's going to cave his sides in. I think he's still got when he's low and he explodes and twists. If he hits you in the ribs.
That's going to be so scary, dude.
That's going to be.
Think about him getting inside of you and just ripping your body.
I would rather be hit in the face, and I don't even want to get hit in the face. But oh my God, I would not want to have him break all my ribs with one punch. What's new at Browsey Acres before I let you go here, Travis?
Man, we're really making a marketing push right now. We just came out with our 10 pounds of ground, and with that, you get free shipping. That's been a big mover. Like here locally, we sell families every month 30 pounds of ground. We sell that's like our bulk price, and that is such a big mover. And that's like our big offer right now. And then with that, you'll be able to pick up some other cuts and throw in that box, because we have another 5 pounds of room in there. So you can add on some chicken or other cuts like that. And it's really been a good good move for us to make. And we have happy customers and returning customers and more customers, and our marketing team has been killing it right now, and it's looking really good. We're going to be working with some race teams. We're going to be our chicken bones are going to go into some broth. We're making some moves. So yeah, it's a good time. There's still a lot of work ahead of us, but I mean, it's looking really good.
This is Travis Browne, co-owner of Browsey Acres, browseyacres.com. I mean, what could I say? I could sit here and talk to you for another hour. There was a bunch of stuff that I just kind of skipped over because I wanted to get through some of the other points that I wanted your take on. So I appreciate you hanging through this extended interview. And if there's anything I can do, of course, for Browsey Acres, we're friends here and we know the industry. So please lob me a phone call or ask to come back on and we'll talk about whatever you'd like.
Well, I mean, you got more questions. We got to come back on here and
no doubt
keep it going. Be a somewhat regular, just kind of BS and get it going. So,
Travis, appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, sir.
You got
appreciate it.
Travis Browne right there. Holy crap! What an interview! Instant classic. We have some of the embedded correspondence building in here this evening, and All right, so I see John, I see Rusty, Doug's going to be popping in here. Don't say I'm the cooking guy yet, but there's still 4 minutes. So we'll be trying to catch up a little bit on some business, and then we will pretend like we're doing a second hour open, and then we'll get to the embedded correspondence. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Of course, it's time to step up your game and bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits Charcoal Grills offers the highest quality live fire cooking experience that you can get in the market today. Using either wood or charcoal, their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. It's their take on the very popular Santa Maria-style grill. Go to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show and use promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill. Once again, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and then promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill. The good folks over at Pits and Spits. And since we're here, Primo Grills is also sponsoring the show, of course. We love ceramic cookers, but what we love most about the Primo is its oval shape, giving you the ability to do two-zone cooking effectively and efficiently. You can't do it in the other cookers. Why? Because they're round. Primo's game-changing oval design gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire, only sold through dealers. So go to primogrill.com and find a dealer near you. That's primogrill.com, and then visit them in person and buy the Primo oval that you like the best. Full accessories, so don't forget those as well. We will wrap the first hour right after this. So, let's see. Hold on. I'm going to do it. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we're behind, but we're making up time here as we go. This portion of the show brought to you by Fireboard. You can monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring. If you have smart speakers in your home, there's a good chance that Fireboard can integrate with that as well. It can with Alexa or the Google Assistant. You visit fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232 to get hooked up. That's the good folks over at Fireboard. All right. The embedded correspondents are in. Sam the cooking guy is in. We will make an abridged top of the second hour and then get to them as we catch up. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.